I got some of this for you.
Goodness. For me?
Yeah, just for you.
To unveiling press conference. Percy, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Hey, Super. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Hey, just now that you're here, now that it's so you're about to unveil it, and this weekend and what's coming up, sort of next month. How does it all feel? I asked you before about perspective. Are you able more to, like, as it gets closer and it's about to happen, do you have a different perspective on all of this?
Yeah, a little bit. I think, I've been really fortunate, obviously, especially in retirement, just a lot of honors, whether it's the jersey retirement, the street name, the Hall of Fames. And every time I've gotten a call, or every time I've even had the actual, enshrinement or jersey retirement, so on and so forth, it really takes other people's reaction to it for me to fully grasp and understand the magnitude. That's really, I feel like, as I've gone through some of these in the last couple of years, that's becoming clearer to me. Like, I have my own reaction to it. Of course, I'm excited. Of course, all the things. But then when I see other people react to it, I'm like, oh, this is a pretty big deal. And that's how I feel this statue is. As the week, as there's been this lead up this whole week to it, whether I'm at the grocery store, in the streets, and people come up, or I'm at the Storm games and the fans' reaction. Now that my friends and family are starting to get into town, I'm really starting to feel and understand, like I said, the magnitude of the moment, what a statue means, what it means for a woman, what it means for a WNBA player, the fact that I'm the first. It's all starting to settle in.
With the street name, one of the things you mentioned is it wasn't necessarily something you could aspire to because of that factor that it sort of hadn't happened with a women's player before. Is that similar with the statue, but also there was sort of like buzz about this during your career, and particularly once this arena reopened. So when did you first sort of start hearing about it and maybe considering that it was a possibility?
I don't know exactly when. I feel like I want to say after we won in 2018. There were some people being, some fans for sure being like, build her a statue. And then it picked up again in 2022 into my retirement, and then it started to become a real thing. So probably, let's call it a year into my retirement, I started to hear enough where I was like, oh, this might actually be real. But to your point, there's Asia Wilson in South Carolina, Pat Summit has a statue at Tennessee. There's just not a lot of women that are honored in this way. And we have tons of men. And I'm actually really proud and honored, especially in the city of Seattle, to be with those other male athletes. Those are elite athletes. And I'm really proud to be in the same breath as some of the greats that have come through here, but even more proud to be the first WNBA player.
So you kind of touched on it there, but in terms of the statues, there not being many women who have had statues in the game of basketball across the country. What does it mean to you, though, in the sense of there's not many statues, period, outside of this arena that's been here since the 60s? I mean, this is a heck of an honor in that way, just given the basketball history of Seattle, right?
Yeah, of course. I have a couple memories. I remember when, Michael Jordan's statue, I don't know if I remember it when it got unveiled, but of course, everybody knows that statue, right, in Chicago, outside of whatever it's called now. Everybody knows that statue. Everybody knows Magic Johnson's statue. There are certain statues throughout the country in the game of basketball that everybody knows. But again, they're NBA players, they're men. The only other statue I knew was Jonathan on the UConn campus. So this is really exciting to be. I don't even know if honored really covers it, because it's a bronze statue that will be there forever, and it feels different when you think of it that way.
So it feels fair to say that as much as this statue is because of your on-court accolades, it's also because of sort of how you've made people feel off the court and what you've stood for off the court. What does that sort of duality mean for you now and throughout your career?
Yeah, I think, of course it's super special to me to know that I impacted, and just like you said, things on the court, things off the court, with my play, with my voice, using my platform, all of those things. I think what's special about it is it does speak to, I don't want to give away my speech, everybody, but it just does speak to what really all of my generation for sure, but really everyone who's playing the WNBA from its inception till now, and all that we did and all that we built and all we had to fight for, and what's always been so wonderful about seeing it grow where it is literally right now is it's the biggest I told you so that any of us could ever have in our lives, because we knew what we had, we believed in it, we just needed other people to see it, and now they did, and of course it goes kaboom. But at the same time, with back to the statue, I think it really shows that what we did do, like I said, all of us in the first, I don't even know how old the league is anymore, first 25 years, let's call it, that it mattered. You can't take that history away, and that's really another big part of what this statue is. For me personally, I say this a lot, it just means my fingerprints are all over the league, both on and off the court.
Hey Sue, so I think a lot of us here were here for your last game, the regular season game here. A lot of emotion after the game. What kind of stands out about that day in particular when you think of it?
I feel like all my last games I lost. It's kind of a bummer when I think back on them. But that game in particular, it was special because it was probably the first time that all my friends and family from all over the place were at one place, one time, to celebrate and watch me play. It was special to have them there. I remember one of the surprises was they were, the hallway we go down before we enter the court, they were lined up along that hallway, like giving all of us high fives. So that was really special. Having my nieces there, for them to witness that was really special. And then of course sharing it with the fans. I know we had playoffs, so there's always this like, well, it's not really the last game. But to really be able, what's special about the last regular season game is that you can kind of take it in differently. The playoffs are serious, and you don't know which game's gonna be your last. So to have a moment during a game where you can, look up at the Jumbotron and they're playing a video of somebody honoring you, or, look out in the fans and see people wearing your jersey, or having the little girl hand me that flower. She never gave it back to me, so let's see where she's at. You have all these little connecting points, and in the regular season, you can really, so when I think back to the game, in the regular season, you can actually take beats and take moments and kind of absorb that. Playoffs, you can't really do it, so it's a little bit of a different vibe.
Sue, we know there's always been some friendly competition between you and DT. She wanted the one-up on you with USA Basketball because you had the one-up in championships. Does this, being the first WNBA player to have your own statue, kind of give you the ultimate one-up? Is that something you guys have talked about?
Until she gets hers? No, we don't talk about it at all. There's no one-upping conversations. The only time we ever tried to talk about one-ups, it was over bowling. We don't really talk about the basketball ones. No, but I can't imagine a world in which she doesn't get a statue. So I'll enjoy having this quote-unquote one-up while it lasts.
Sue, also kind of leaning on the DT question, both you and DT talked about how much you had to hide a big part of who you are starting the season, and now you being unapologetically yourself, DT being you have a statue, DT just had this massive documentary. What does that tell about how the league embracing players' personality, now bringing all of that sponsorship money, player personality really driving that new investment?
Yeah, there's a direct correlation between players being able to showcase whatever part of themselves they want in a really, you said it, authentic way, and business booming. I think that's just, they go hand in hand. It's really hard, I think, for people to connect to other people in any part of your life if that person, or in this case an entire league, isn't really being themselves, right? You ever hang out with somebody who you kind of tell, what's happening over here? And I feel like that was our league for 20 plus years, where nobody could really figure us out because, I shouldn't say 20 plus years, it was probably less than that, but nobody could really figure us out. I look back at some of the pictures, we were Googling some in the back, and it's just like, what are we doing? I'm in the most ridiculous outfits. But I was just trying to do what I think we all thought was gonna be smart marketing. And as it turns out, just being yourself, no matter what that is the smartest marketing, because everybody in the WNBA, there's just, we'll call it a spectrum of people, right? A spectrum of personalities, a spectrum of fashion choices, you name it. And there's somebody in the world, in the country, that'll connect to someone on that spectrum. And you'd rather have that, like genuine connection than trying to put into the public eye what you think people will like. So yeah, the connection I think it's probably the most important part of the business taking off.
Sue, unveiling the statue, it obviously speaks a lot to what you mean to the city of Seattle, but what does the city of Seattle mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's given me a home. The city has given me a home, a place where I could have a career, a place where I felt welcome, a place where I really grew up. I mean, in a lot of ways, I really grew up here. My adult years, I learned how to be an adult. You know, I was just joking yesterday, it's like, you come from college, you think like Outback and Fridays and these types of restaurants are, you know, like you're going out. And then I got to Seattle and I was like, oh, these are what restaurants actually are, you know, white tablecloths and things like that. So even in the smallest of ways, I really grew up here. And I think the city of Seattle just always embraced me, obviously always cheered us on, and just allowed for all of that growth. So I'm forever thankful for that.
So you mentioned in 2018, it started to become a concept that you might get something, you know, a statue like this. The day it became reality, did someone call and say, hey Sue, we're going to do this? Was this a phone call? Was it somebody in the hallway? What do you remember about that day when it was no longer a concept, it was now a reality?
Yeah, it was really the ownership group and Alicia. So Lisa, Ginny, Dawn, and Alicia were the ones that told me it was going to be a real thing, a reality. I can't remember, it wasn't like a one phone call thing. I kind of like understood things were in the works. And then as it went, it just became time to start actually doing it. And that's where I do remember sitting down, meeting Dawn for coffee. Dawn, I think, picked up on the, like part of Dawn's role was to really take me through the step-by-step process. She did a lot of work behind the scenes, but also was with me every time I went to Illinois to visit the studio to see like the clay version of myself. Dawn was with me. So I remember having coffee with her prior to all of that. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, this is happening. How do you want it to happen? How do you want today to look? How do you want, you know, I want to come with you to Illinois. Is that okay? Absolutely. You know, we started gaming it all out.
All right, final two questions. We'll go start with Landon and then Brendan, you're last.
Okay, so I just got done talking to Jamal, obviously, about you, and then also earlier this year, Becky talked about your leadership and how she quotes you all the time with your team. Just your thoughts about leaving the lasting impression on not only the community of always showing up to everything, not just lending your name, but also lending your face and you actually being there, and then also your Becky and other coaches using your, I guess, your expertise to promote their teams, I guess, or build them up, pretty much.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to answer that is just, I've always had a mindset of wanting to help and of wanting to pay it forward. And that's really all it is, right? There's people that came before me, you know, there's camps I went to as a little kid and I happened to, you know, hear maybe a college player, a professional player at the time, like speak, and you always take little nuggets. You might not even realize it in the moment, but when you hang out with somebody or you hear them speak, or, you know, in Becky's case, was obviously my opponent more than anything, but got to watch. And the same goes with watching Becky. Of course, I learned from her just from watching. So whatever it is, you're always taking little nuggets from people, and I think it's just really important to pay it forward in those ways, because you're getting so much from others. You want to continue to share that knowledge with the next generation.
Hey Sue, you're joining Dirk Nowitzki and Kobe Bryant as the only ones to spend 20 years with one franchise and then follow it with a statue being built. What does it mean to be amongst that basketball royalty, but also basketball loyalty?
Wow, yeah, I didn't know that. So it's just the three of us?
Yeah.
Cool.
There's some at 19, but you guys are in 20.
Yeah, I mean, well, the royalty part is incredible. I mean, those are names anytime you're amongst players like that, what they did in their careers, the winning, how they did it, you know, that's really, really special. But I think the loyalty might stick out more than anything. And it's not, you know, I like when I have this conversation, it's not to pat yourself on the back for the loyalty. It's just that it is rare at times. that's not always players' fault. Sometimes things happen, they have to leave. Sometimes it doesn't work out, they have to move on. So that's why I don't want to like pat myself on the back for the loyalty. But at the same time, I look back on it now, and it is really special to have played in one place. It does mean something different for me to come back to this city, to come to games. There's just a different connection I have because I only played here. And so that to me is what's really special. I think it goes beyond basketball, the impact you have on communities. Same with Dirk, same with Kobe. So yes, it is the royalty aspect, but the loyalty I think even means more to me.